than 65 million people around the world who have been forced to leave their homes. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees has actually documented now 22.5 million official refugees who are in UN camps, who are receiving some form of UN assistance. But then there's another 40 million who might be displaced internally in their country or who might not be officially recognized as refugees. Amongst that latter group are Central Americans who are fleeing the violence in Central America and Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, but who aren't actually recognized as refugees because the violence that they're fleeing is private actor driven, not government driven. And so there are hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people displaced by the violence in Central America, but not able to receive support or assistance from the UN agency. This crisis is both feeding and a result of this growing level of hatred and divisiveness that is being fueled by so many political leaders around the world. And so the people who are being forced to flee their homes because of this rhetoric are also victims in the places where they land, and the host countries that are taking them in, often at great expense to themselves, but then also accompanied by a lot of local resistance and resentment of those refugees. So these trends are ones that actually we feel like will likely get worse. If you look at the global context and you look at the impact of climate change, you looked at the increasing conflict between fundamentalist groups and others, it's likely that the refugee crisis is not anywhere close to over and is more likely to get much, much worse over the next several years. And yet government response to this crisis has been remarkably puny. Rather than acknowledge this terrible crisis, the worst since World War II, most governments have been content to either allow the neighboring countries to host, perhaps with some foreign assistance or not, or as I said, they're building walls to keep people out, including the one that may end up on our southern border here in the United States. So these trends make it really, really tough to be optimistic about human rights. But the other thing that we can take comfort in is that it's also provoked a response that has been very positive. We have seen record numbers of people turning out in the streets and using the language of human rights here in the United States, but also globally.